Hey everybody. Welcome back to class. After the Thanksgiving weekend, I know that we're in an online environment, and that usually doesn't mean that you get a whole lot of time on a long weekend. But I hope you were able to carve out some time to relax and sort of catch up with family and take a breath. A few things I wanted to talk about this week as I give you my most recent screencast. I took a look at the gradebook today. Lots of you are doing quite well. Looks like the class overall is right where it should be. But that means that you should keep your foot on the gas as we move through the last little part of the class. Don't give up yet. Grade isn't totally earned yet. So I'd like to keep that inertia going. That means make sure you log in, make sure that you're engaging in the discussion forums, make sure you're following up, make sure you're getting all of the points you can. So the two things I wanted to talk about in the screencast today relate to the use of Huntington's Class of Civilizations thesis for the discussion forum, and then also some thoughts about the final paper, some tips and tricks to get you set up in that sense. So my training is actually in international relations. And Huntington's Class of Civilizations argument gets talked about a lot, but very seldomly in a way that actually does justice to its nuance. So the argument is not simply that the United States and the West will square off against the East, and that this will be the defining characteristic of world order. And also, it's not immediately clear that the conflicts that we see in the world today, while they might have overtones that seem consistent with this argument, that they are. I don't mean to say that you should disagree with Huntington right out of the gate. I'm simply saying that we should engage with his argument in some nuance that might be missing from the textbook, and that I'd like to sort of outline. So one of the things is that Huntington actually doesn't outline an argument about the West versus the rest. Actually, this map illustrates what he sees as the different civilizations in the world. He actually outlines several. And he doesn't homogenize the West in a way that we might expect. So we actually see several different kinds of civilizations who all differently construe things like the role of the individual, the role of government, the expectations of the state. And it was this larger sort of context in which Huntington saw conflict emerging. Well, one of the things that we should bear in mind is that this is not a simple West versus East argument. The other thing is that one of the things we should talk about is like where we actually see conflict in the world today. And this is the Council on Foreign Relations Conflict Tracker. It's actually an app that continually tracks conflict around the world. And some of the conflicts that the conflict tracker is interested in do seem to line up with that map. So we do see a conflict in Ukraine, which could be construed as sitting on the line between Western Europe, the Western civilization, and the Orthodox civilization. We do see some conflicts in Africa, which do seem to illustrate this. But actually, when we look at something like the Middle East, most of these conflicts are inside the region, or inside a civilization as Huntington would have defined it. So we should be careful to sort of understand that. In general, for when we talk about in the discussion whether this is actually what defines U.S.-Iranian relations. And I would really sort of like you to sort of think about that in terms of the actual nuances of the conflicts that we see in the world today, and the actual nuances of the theory as you prepare your answers. Jaylee got us off to a great start, and I'd really like to see you sort of jumping on here and illustrating how you construe this perspective, because she does a great job of summarizing the overall point. The other set of tips I would like to give you relate to the research paper. Now, hopefully you've been working on this in advance. Hopefully you've already started thinking about this. If you have any questions, please reach out to me as quickly as possible. But remember that one of the things that we should be doing is you should analyze the country from the perspective of some of the overarching trends that we've already discussed in the class. So we've already talked about things like different organizations of governments, different forms of government for different kinds of political contexts, different levels of development. So one of the things I'll be looking for when I go to grade the paper is your ability to sort of talk about these states not just in and of themselves, but also in relation to the other content we've covered in the class and some of the ideas that have come out of it. The only other thing is I really want to stress that if you have any problems at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to me in any of the ways available to you. You can call my office. That number forwards to my cell phone. You can also message me with Canvas. You can send me an email. You can also send me a note. We can set up a Skype conference. Realize I know most of you, because your online students are not traditional students, you might have non-traditional schedules. I'm perfectly happy to accommodate you, especially as we come down the stretch in the final 2 weeks of the semester. So please, please, please reach out if you have any problems at all organizing for the final paper. Looking forward to talking to you all in the discussion forums.